Welcome to the WMAR Vault. I'm Jamie Costello. Here at WMAR, we're celebrating 75 years on the air. We were the first TV station in Maryland, and now we're setting our sights on the future and streaming. So we're going to be mixing up the old and the new, opening up the WMAR Vault and dusting off 16 million feet of archive footage. That's enough to get us from Baltimore to Los Angeles and still have nearly 400 miles left over. We hope you enjoyed this episode of the WMAR Vault.
It almost comes as a surprise to remember that the Oriole Bird isn't real, or at least that there's a person inside that costume. In the 4 years the larger-than-life Oriole has been flying with the birds, signing autographs and charming the timid child along with the cynical steelworker, he's come to be accepted as real. In skits between innings at the team's 81 home games and in personal appearances all year long, he's come to be as popular as most of the players. The team management asks only that the bird not speak. Beyond that, he can write his own script, and the performance changes nightly. There are two humans who alternate inside the costume, and the senior one is Clayton Goldstein, a student at Towson State and a Baltimore native. He gets to the ballpark 90 minutes before a night game, checks out the pieces of the 4 bird costumes currently in use at the cleaners or being repaired, and suits up for his performance. He'll get paid $35, but that's not why he loves his work.
It's fun. Yeah, I get some performing experience, so I can go into performing and good time.
The baseball's still attractive to you too, isn't it? You're around the players. And
oh, for sure. I've played Little League, Northwest Little League, and all the way up to like a little bit of high school, and I'm out here, so it's pretty fun. I told my father I finally made the big leagues.
The big leagues bring big thrills. What were Goldstein's biggest?
There's a lot meeting, like Brooks Robinson and the players, and, legends like Carl Yastrzemski. It was just being out on the field and looking around and seeing, all these people out there, and I'm on the field.
Off the field, the bird can encounter problems. Most fans are delighted to see him, but not all.
Most of the hard times is people being overly enthusiastic and I'll pass them and they want the bird to come back and they'll pull the tail and they'll say, hey bird, come back here. And the tail's tied to our waist, so that hurts.
Most of the bird's contact with the players is a pleasure. He helps them with their introductions and warms up the crowd.
Batting first, the designated hitter, number 29, Ken Singleton.
Chris Fangston is the other bird. Like Goldstein, he's an acting and education major at Towson State, and like Goldstein, he'll do anything for the team. Like the players, he dreads the thought of leaving the team after graduation. For now, he's part of a major league team, which most of us can only dream about. I'm Andy Barth, at large for News Scene 2.
There's been a lot of gutter balls in the career of the Patterson Bowl on Eastern Avenue, but we've reached the final ball in the 10th frame.
After 64 years in the bowling lanes, I think we got enough. We want to do something else for a few years.
Bernie and his wife Vera, or Toots, have decided to put the place up for sale, which is heartbreaking news to the Early Starters Tuesday Bowling League.
Well, I don't have anywhere else to go, and this is all my fun.
Here, ages are as high as scores.
I'm 84, I'll be 85 in Thanksgiving Day. And right now my average is only 82. I think she said 82 or 88. Put 88, they won't know the difference.
Still, it's an alley that brings bowling back to its purest form, where everybody knows everybody else on a nickname basis, where if you don't feel like climbing the stairs, go ahead, change the door plate, where you call the phone booth to make reservations, where shoes are still tied and not Velcroed, where scores are still kept by hand. After 2 hours of what they say they bowl for money, not blood, these lanes are quiet, but you've got to believe somebody, somewhere is going to buy this 10-pin alley so that the ducks can continue to fly. Okay, Toots, hit the lights. We're going home. Jamie Costello, News Channel 2.
This is a pair of Calvin Klein blue jeans. Actress Brooke Shields wears these in the famous TV commercial. You know, the one where she says, "Nothing comes between me and my Calvin Kleins." Well, here at the Woodward and Lothrop store in the outskirts of Annapolis, there is something that comes between you and your Calvin Kleins. It's a chain. Designer blue jeans are now in the same category as suede or leather coats. If you want to try one on, you have to get a sales clerk to unlock the chain. 10 years ago, people would have laughed at the idea of such security precautions for blue jays, but now that they are selling for as high as $52 a pair, they have become a major target of thieves. In the past 3 months, the Woodward and Lothrop Annapolis store has been burglarized 3 times. Each time, the thieves have ignored the expensive jewelry department and gone for the real gold. Those new pants that say Bill Glass, Jordan, Sassoon, Gloria Vanderbilt, Calvin Klein. Woody's lost 250 pairs of designer jeans, valued at $10,000. Burglars have also hit 2 of their stores in Prince George's County. And 3 Heck Company stores in Annapolis and Prince George's County have also been hit. Woody's sales clerk Ethel Maurizio figures the pants are retired because they're so popular with customers. And why is that?
I would say the sexy ads that they have. You're shut on.
Whether it's the sexy TV ads, the form divine fit, or the status label, designer jeans are hot stuff. Consumers being thieves, and stores like Woodward and Lothrop are increasing their surveillance and their security to catch the blue jean burglars. Dispatch McGrath and the scene in Annapolis.
If it ain't broke, many asked, why fix it? Meaning, why change the century-old taste of an American classic? To sell more, of course, said the masters of merchandising, who say the best will get better. They call it bolder, fresher, lighter, smoother, rounder, and more harmonious. And tasters whose opinions we sampled at Harbor Place split evenly pro and con. Those used to drinking old Coke for breakfast trembled at tinkering with perfection, while others liked the new better. I thought it too sweet, but the important question we posed to Coke's president was this: will the new formula still rot babies' teeth if they're left in it for a week, as the old was alleged to do? Yes, he said, it probably will, so it can't be so different or so bad. I'm Andy Barth for Nightside.
We here in Maryland have been told by the Environmental Protection Agency that we have to clean up our air 25% by 1987. The Motor Vehicle Administration says most of the pollutants in the air come from cars. So it looks like beginning in 1982, Maryland car owners are going to have their autos tested like this every year.
In order to make the program efficient, cost-effective, and least bothersome to the motorist, we'd like to find out what day of the week he'd like to come, what hours, whether we should exempt certain vehicles like antique vehicles or motorcycles or special vehicles that are on the road. We have arbitrarily set a limit of vehicles under 10,000 pounds because our registration fees are based on that magic number, so to speak.
Bob Beaumont may look like a used car salesman, but he sounds like a visionary and a dreamer. Inside his Jessup showroom sits a city car, one of 2,200 he produced in the early 70s. It ran on rechargeable batteries. It was slow and limited in range. It offered no amenities, and it died after a bad review from Consumer Reports.
They weren't really a very good vehicle.
But that, Beaumont says, isn't the point now. He believes the city car proved that electric vehicles can work.
While the project was a financial failure, it proved, without a shadow of a doubt, that millions of miles could be driven by people this way in daily commuting and errands, short trips. No doubt about it. You simply plug into any standard 110 outlet and walk away from the vehicle. The next morning, pull the plug and do it again.
Now, Bob Beaumont is doing it again, starting over with the profits from his used car sales to build another electric car, the Renaissance. The city car broke his bank account and his heart, so why try again?
We all have a dream, and it's been my dream now for the better part of 25 years that I possibly can be instrumental in getting these vehicles into the nation's transportation system. So electric drive is inevitable. God made the ultimate source of power, which will be the sun. And ultimately the sun will provide electricity for which to recharge batteries to move millions and millions of people. It's only a matter of time.
The Renaissance so far exists only on paper. In production, it will seat 2, do 50 miles an hour, go 80 miles on a charge, and cost less than a cent a mile to run. It will sell for $7,500, not including heat, air, or planned obsolescence.
An electric vehicle doesn't have to be built to wear out, because it'll take decades and decades to supply the demand that we think exists. I'm not doing it for the money. I could probably retire now just by selling my business or something like that and live a good life. But someone has to do this.
The first Renaissance prototype could be built this summer, with the first models for sale next spring. Beaumont hopes to build the car in Maryland. Bob Beaumont knows how to sell cars, but he says he doesn't expect to have to sell the electric Renaissance if he gets it built. Of buyers for that, he says, if he builds it, they will come. Near Jessup, I'm Andy Barth, Channel 2 News.
We are sure in success. Thank you.
When the Yugo hit American soil in mid-August, the company formed to import them expected big things. But the public's response has surpassed its wildest dreams. Al Packer has received 29 Yugos in the past month. The first 9 were sold the first day they arrived. The next 20 were sold before they were delivered.
We have a lot of people that are interested in driving the car, and we have quite a bit more deposits than we have cars available at this time.
So when people have been taking it for a test drive, they've been suitably impressed to make deposits?
Yeah, most are impressed with the finish of the car and for the level of equipment that's available at $39.90.
Len Stoller, Baltimore's other Yugo dealer, tells the same story. Demand is simply unbelievable.
What was it about the Yugo that interested you enough to come in here?
The advertised price, the $39.90 price, that's what interested me.
While the Yugo is advertised for $39.90, it really sells for around $5,000 after dealer prep, rust proofing, and fabric protection are figured in. But despite the add-ons and a wait for delivery, the Yugo continues to draw a crowd.
Well, the car's been out for 5 years in 30 other countries around the world, and all the bugs were worked out in places like Europe and Africa, so we really haven't faced any extraordinary problems with the car. It seems to be very, very durable.
Richard Cherry says dealers are confident the Yugo plant will be able to step up production to meet demand, and he insists Yugomania is not a passing fad.
If the car were not put together well, I would say it would be short-term, but the car's put together well, and Yugo is very much committed to this market, and they tell us that the price will remain firm for at least a year, and all of their strategies seem geared to the long term. And as far as I can see, it is a remarkable car, and it will be here for 10, 20, 30 years.
The place, Johns Hopkins Hospital. Having always been an admirer of the medical arts, I was about to realize a dream come true. Morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
Fine.
I guess I need some scrubs for surgery.
Sure. Do you know what physician you're going to see?
Dr. Ben Carson.
Okay.
It's a little past 7:30 in the morning. A team of anesthesiologists and technicians are already prepping the patient for surgery. The patient is put to sleep. IV and monitor lines connected.
Large pants. Okay.
A catheter inserted to drain the bladder.
All right, some coverings for my feet. Not sure if I'll need one of these, but maybe I better take one just in case.
The wires to the head are hitting points known as pathways of sensation. They're stimulating nerves to the brain. Monitors will let them know if there's damage to blood vessels or brain tissue during surgery. Completely dressed, it was time to meet my mentor, world-renowned neurosurgeon Dr. Ben Carson, Chief of Pediatric Neurosurgery at Johns Hopkins.
Okay, well, today we have actually a relatively complex case. This is a young girl who's been plagued with a tumor called a craniopharyngioma for many, many years now.
In fact, the 10-year-old patient's tumor was first diagnosed when she was only 3. This will be her 9th head surgery in 7 years. This one and the previous 2 by Dr. Carson.
It's just a monster. It just keeps coming back and twining itself through everything. Clearly, it's going to do her in if we don't do something.
As we head to the operating room, Carson explains he rehearses the surgery in his mind over and over again, what he'll encounter, what the possibilities are, but he never fears going into surgery. A couple of challenges for me. Number one, don't contaminate the area. Number two, don't pass out in the operating room. That's a no-no. To say Carson is a busy doctor would be an understatement. He averages about 500 operations a year, triple the average neurosurgeon's caseload.
I'm here. I'm ready.
All right.
It takes gifted hands and nerves of steel to be a neurosurgeon. But new technical breakthroughs are helping surgeons pinpoint the trouble spot easier and operate faster, which increases the patient's chances for survival.
By utilizing our three-dimensional wand, which will give us locations, we'll be able to figure out exactly where we are in there and hopefully be able to remove portions of the solid part of the tumor.
Carson compares using the magic wand to navigating a ship with the help of a sextant.
If you're approaching this thing surgically, you got three different things to orient you in terms of exactly which way you're going. Okay. So it makes a difference.
An avid fan of classical music, Carson plays it during surgery for its calming effect. Now he's ready to operate.
You guys ready? Yeah. Okay, let's go.
15 right open skin with Willie. All right with you? Yeah, we use 15 for the skin.
Yeah, stay right. Yeah. We're giving a little local. 40% with 1 to 200,000. That's a little valley right there. So cut the drape first so you can see the. See how easy it is to get off track. Yeah.
Carson says the key to being an effective brain surgeon is knowing when to stop cutting.
And make sure you stay on the bone.
Carson practices a no-harm philosophy. He says he will never deliberately put a patient's life in jeopardy just to say he got the tumor out. He says he has no problem saying, "I'm sorry, I can't do it."
Now let me have a medicine bomb scissor.
It took nearly 5 hours to prep the patient and cut through the scalp and skull to get to the target.
That's dura. This is the covering of the brain. That's, that's the brain right there.
I was thinking once you cut the skull, the brain is just right there. Yeah. I didn't need a medical degree to tell me that we had reached a critical stage of the operation. At this point, I feared I might be a distraction. Dr. Carson and his 12-member team would continue on for another 5 hours. Even though we had their permission, to continue taking pictures would be disrespectful to the family. It was time for us to turn off the camera.
No, a single lumen will be fine in her.
Meet 10-year-old Cynthia Clayton of East Baltimore. She's been home from the hospital and the surgery for 23 days now. Her mother Lisa describes what Cynthia was like before the surgery.
She was completely, I would say, in a late coma. She didn't wake up for 18 hours a day. She didn't eat. She didn't walk.
After 9 head surgeries, Cynthia is truly a miracle child. Doctors gave her only a 40% chance of surviving this last surgery. But after being in a drug-induced coma and life support for a week and a half, Cynthia started showing signs of recovery.
When she came wide awake, she still had the breathing tube in. She still had cotton and packing in her head. And she's talking, moving her lips, and it was just, it was the most wonderful thing. It was like having her all over again, her being born all over again.
And after a few weeks at home,
now she'll give you kisses, she'll smile, she'll eat, she loves to eat. And she'll tell you if she's in pain. She hasn't even been talking a couple sentences, which is good because we never get to hear her voice. And even if she says ow, we're jumping up and down because we never get to hear her voice.
this picture of Cynthia was taken just last December. The goal, get back to her former self. Now, even though the surgery was considered a success, Dr. Carson wasn't able to remove the entire tumor. And depending on how quickly and how large the tumor grows back, this brave little girl is probably facing more surgery.
For 75 years, WMAR has brought the news into your home. From film to video to tiny digital cards, over-the-air, cable, satellite, and now streaming. And we'll keep moving forward. And remember to look back at the stories and the moments that made us all here in Maryland. We hope you've enjoyed this episode of the WMAR Vault. We will see you next time.
Tighten down. Then you get on the edge of the building and lower yourself over the side. Okay. You guys at the bottom, or whatever. Hopefully not too fast.
Never in a million years. Spider-Man, Zimmerman. Somehow they must be related.
I love this job. I wouldn't have it any other way. Couldn't be in an office. Not after doing this for 10 years.
Ray Zimmerman does windows. In a swing seat, Ray acts like a pendulum, swinging from side to side, high above Baltimore.
Beautiful view. Downtown Baltimore.
Armed with a bucket of soap and ammonia, a sponge and a squeegee, Zimmerman does our dirty work.
And normally with a building this size, which is an 18-story building, about a half a block long, it would normally take me anywhere between 3 to 5 days, depending on weather.
If the wind blows harder than 12 miles an hour or it rains, he comes down.
You got your life in your own hands. If anything happens, the only person that could be at fault would be you. And you alone, because you're the one that sets it up, you're the one that ties it, and you're the one that goes over the side.
Oh, he says that now, but ask him about his first time.
By the time I got down, I had to change my pants, okay?
He checks everything twice, including his fate. And Zimmerman says you wouldn't believe what he sees.
I've caught men sleeping on the job, hiding behind their desk sound asleep. You know, I've seen guys and secretaries, I guess, or whoever it was, kissing in the office.
Zimmerman says most are friendly on the other side of the glass, waving and smiling.
This job here, as they say, a piece of cake. Yeah.
How high are we?
Oh, about 18 stories. What are you doing up here anyway?
Just came up to tell you missed the spot.
Oh, gee, thanks a lot.
Jamie Costello, Channel 2 News. Thanks a lot, Ray.
No problem. Drop in anytime.
Sure.
Hey, it's Jamie Costello. If you just enjoyed this episode of The Vault, you can check out more episodes by clicking on this box down here. And while you're at it, go ahead and hit that circle, and that'll subscribe you to WMAR 2 News for great content every single day.